Hello friends, today I am here with the topic persuasion, and as you know that we are doing interpersonal skills. Under that heading I am doing persuasion because persuasion skill is a very important part of interpersonal skill. If we talk of negotiation, if we talk of emotional intelligence, if we talk of communication, persuasion is equally very important. While discussing persuasion, we shall also discuss the influential skill, how to influence other. So these factors are very important to make yourself a very fine orator and a good communicator. How often have you needed to persuade others to do something? It is a situation that arises almost every day, whether it is getting your teenager to tidy their room, or your preschooler to get dressed, or a colleague to attend a meeting on your behalf. Various situations. Some people seem to be able to do it effortlessly and almost without anyone noticing, whereas others fall back on the power of their position to enforce what they want. Persuasion skills can be learned just like any others, and they are a key part of being able to influence others to achieve your goals and objectives. The question is, what is persuasion? How would you define persuasion? Or what do we mean by persuasion? Persuasion is the communication process of getting someone to do something by convincing him that it is the logical and reasonable thing to do. This is persuasion. There are certain views on persuasion. What are the elements of the persuasion process? Persuasion models typically involve greater emphasis upon the properties and interaction of source, message, channel, and setting in yielding effects in the target. If we talk of persuasion, as I said, negotiation does also come, the concept of negotiation. If we talk of persuasion, then it is negotiation that should be discussed. Persuaders give reasons, while negotiators give concessions. If we talk persuasion versus negotiation, persuasion is faster, easier, more comfortable, and above all cheaper than negotiation. The agreements you can't win through persuasion, you will have to negotiate with concessions, and concessions are expensive. So negotiation is concession while persuasion gives reason. So which one is expensive? It is negotiation. There is a model of persuasion process. This model focuses upon three variables which become interrelated in the persuasion process. What are these three variables? Source, message, and target. So these three processes are source, message, and target. What is source? The source is the originator of the given persuasion attempt. That is to say that there should be some point from where you may start to persuade somebody or someone or some person. That is called source. Some point, some intention, and some meaning. The other is message. The message is the meeting of stimuli the source actually puts into the channel. So, message you can say is after the source through which you may move ahead with discussion, by putting some point, that is message. And finally, target. The target is the person for whom the communication serves as a stimuli. So, first is source, message and target. So, for target you are persuading somebody, and due to target, the communication serves as a stimulus. Characteristics of persuasion process we need to discuss, because just now we discussed a model for persuasion with 3 variables, that is source, message and target. So, what are the characteristics of persuasion process? Through persuasion, one individual, that is the source, tries to change the attitude of another person, that is the target. Certain characteristics of the source, the target and the message affect the persuasion process. Source characteristic, 3 major characteristics of the source affect persuasion. First, we discussed the model of 3 variables. Now it is the characteristics of the source. What are the 3 major characteristics? Expertise, trustworthiness and attractiveness. Remember, the source characteristics are expertise, trustworthiness and attractiveness. Target characteristics, what are these target characteristics? Individuals differ widely in their sensitivity to persuasion. Managers must recognize these differences and realize that their attempts to change attitudes may not receive universal acceptance. So, what is the target characteristic? That individual differ widely, but manager must recognize these differences. And then message characteristics. We are discussing the 3 variables: source, message and target. Message characteristics. Messages that are obviously designed to change the target attitude may be met with considerable negative reaction. Less threatening approaches are less likely to elicit negative reaction. The keys to positive persuasion. Be positive to persuade. The first key to positive, because while persuading someone, it is very important to remain positive. So, be positive to persuade. Know your facts and present them in a knowledgeable manner. That is to say, in an attractive manner. Make sure you are understood. That is to say, there shouldn't be any gap between the 2 persons while communicating. Talk to the decision maker. Never engage in personal attacks on your adversary, either directly or indirectly. Otherwise, the situation will be worst. If possible, support your arguments with reference to third parties, since this adds credibility. Show the other side how you can solve a problem they have. And your appearance does count a lot, does matter. Now, decision making through persuasion is also an effective way. And we all know that decision making is a very important aspect of any meeting, of organization, company, academics, anything. What function does the persuasion process serve? The persuasion process is a means of reaching decisions. The process may provide the stimulus for a receiver to reach a decision. That is to say that the persuasion process may push the person to take a decision. It is not negotiation, it is persuasion. Very tactfully handling, convincing a person to take a decision. Is persuasion involved in logical decision making? This is a very pertinent question. And the answer is yes. The information a man has is in part the result of persuasion efforts directed at him. So, the question is, why do you persuade? To fulfill your needs, to get and keep a good job, to accomplish one's goal, to get what a person wants. These are the main causes to move into the act of persuasion. Fulfilling needs, getting a good job, fulfilling the goals, completing the goals, reaching the goals, and to get what actually one wants. Now, as persuader, what a person acts. Persuasion is a tool that enables us to come to mutual accommodation. Keep in mind, mutual accommodation. Failure of persuasion can produce stresses we cannot tolerate and fragment relationships or ourselves. Persuasion is a tool for the receiver. It may serve him or it may destroy him. What can persuasion do for the receiver? At the most basic level, it aids him in the decision-making process. It puts others to work for his benefit. Now, when we talk of persuasion, we need to discuss persuasion and its sociological aspect, that is society. For a society to exist, the people within it must accommodate themselves to one another, and a means to reach decisions must be found. Persuasion is, in one sense, the coin of interaction. What is persuasion? The coin of interaction. An individual decision often involves other individuals. So, it is a coin of interaction involving other individuals in a discussion, that is persuasion. Now, can we as individual control our own motivations? our own responses? Can we as persuaders create and direct the motivations and the responses of others? Probably the answer to both questions is yes, to a degree. Because motivation, attitude and behavior, these are all interrelated when we talk of persuasion. That is why the question is very pertinent. Can we as individual control our own motivation or our own responses? And as I said, the answer is in affirmative. As persuaders, we seek to affect the motivations of others so as to affect a desired outcome. If persuade psychology is evolved, means if persuadees, the person to whom one is persuading. So, if persuadee psychology is evolved accurate by the persuader, it may lead to manipulate stimuli that can affect the motivation of another. As the persuader typically seeks an attitude change, the persuasion concept testifies to the possibility of alteration of attitude, alteration of attitudes. But clearly, the possibility of change is greater for some attitudes than for others. It may vary also. Values are important because they are influence on almost any behavior, and in one sense the goals of an individual are linked to the values he holds in this sense. Values become important elements in persuasion in terms of both source and receiver. Anger as a persuasive tactic. This need to be discussed. Because while moving into a persuasion act, how to manage anger? Anger can be a very compelling influence on the other party's behavior. Remember this. Growing angry at an unreasonable tactic or offer shows that the angered negotiator believes the other party ought to abandon the tactic or position. This can happen. Growing angry at the other party's behavior in negotiations also has the advantage of functioning as an unspecified threat. So, to achieve many of his goals and to get many of his needs, man must affect his environment and the forces operating in it while deciding to persuade somebody. Man must therefore use the tool of persuasion. Every person is a potential persuader. That is to say that everyone has this capacity to persuade others. Beginning with the earliest influences upon us as children, experience teaches that persuasion is generally an acceptable means of influencing those around. Having made the decision to use the persuasion instrumentally, the persuader must refine this general impulse into a specific persuasion purpose. Factors affecting formation of the specific purpose. The persuader may be responding to a highly specific need. Remember, the persuader may be responding to a highly specific need. The persuasive effort may be a response to the persuasive efforts of others. The persuasion effort may be the result of an assigned task. The forces or factors that induce the person to become a persuader may fix the specific purpose. The knowledge, understanding, and abilities of the persuader will structure his purpose. The receiver may determine the specific purpose. Receiver analysis may cause the persuader to adjust, discard, or reshape his goal. Now, the next important thing to discuss is the process of selecting the specific purpose. Because behind the persuasion, the important aspect is selecting the specific purpose. The persuader needs co-frame or rather a specific purpose by translating his general purpose into the realities of his subject matter, receiver, and himself. The nature of the receiver, the best advice concerning accommodation to a receiver is to take a receiver where it is and move it in the direction one wants it to go. The subject matter involved in it and the realities of the topic area condition the purpose. The material that can be found, the data available, the issues that have been developed, the status of the problem, the total world, all have an impact on any given speech. Now, framing a specific purpose statement, how to frame it if you are entering into a persuasive act? Is the purpose clear, meaningful, and reasonably precise? This is the statement, sentence, question that can be put to force one to think that what is the purpose, the clear purpose, meaningfulness. Next one is the desired goal clearly identified? Is the goal one of persuasive nature, not merely information transmission, entertainment, or some other non-persuasive one? And then, does the purpose reflect the realities of receiver, subject matter, and the communicator? Does the specific purpose have a reasonable potential of being accomplished? Well, these are the framing a specific purpose statement. These questions indicate toward. Is the purpose essentially singular? Is the purpose free from the confusion of means and ends? Is the purpose statement adequately refined and modified as the thinking of the persuader and his analysis progress during the preparatory process? Well, these are the question to indicate towards framing a specific purpose statement, moving into persuasion. Now, effects of the persuasion process on the source. What is this? A successful persuasion effort may place the source in a position to accomplish his goals. An unsuccessful persuasion effort may result in redoubling of efforts, radically revising a strategy, shifting to new goals, or abandoning the effort. Behavior of the source immediately before, during, and after an open communication effort is obviously affected quite directly by the persuasion process. The question is, how to be a good persuader? And this is very pertinent question. For the censor, the focus is on facts and the use of the 5 senses, means a person with sense, sensible person. The intuiter pays attention to the vision of what could be and also engages in the use of 6th sense, that is intuition. The thinker person relies on intellectual processes, that is reason and logic. The feeler person, the key word is emotion and logic may not play a significant part. So, for the censor, intuiter, thinker and feeler, different things are there in which feeler is maybe weak if we compare feeler with censor, intuiter and thinker. My dear student, persuasion in any act of marketing and even in life decision is very important. As I discussed, decision making also. So, it is very important to understand what is persuasion, how to persuade other. It is just convincing, forcing, what actually is. To know the other psychology is very important to take the very idea or the mind to capture the mind of other. I think that whatever I have shared just now is very useful to you, because even in personal life you need to be a good persuader. You please focus on the points I have shared. Know the act of persuasion. Understand the matter psychologically and intellectually. I am sure that you can be a good persuader if you think seriously and move deep into it to understand other psychology. Till then, goodbye. Have a nice day. See you again with the other aspect of persuasion. Thank you very much.